Hey there, Fletcher from All Things Overlanding here, and today I'm doing kind of a recap of the Overland Adventure Summit. This thing happened in early June, so it's been a week or two. I've kind of had some time to process, think about the event, and kind of formulate some thoughts and ideas on it. So if you weren't able to make it, I'm going to have some footage I'm going to play over this if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on the podcast, I'm going to describe everything to you, but I just want to talk a little bit about the event. I want to talk about how it went, and I want to give you guys an idea so that you know when this thing rolls around again, whether it's worth your time to go and check out. So if you want to hear more about the inaugural first Overland Adventure Summit in Stanton, Kentucky when, stay tuned.
When I let you go, I just pull you closer. I can't understand where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you give to me. Loosening my grip.
All right, guys, so as I mentioned in the intro, today I'm talking about doing sort of a recap of the Overland Adventure Summit. This was the first year for this event. It was put on by a couple of guys, Clay and Wes from Commonwealth 4x4 and SHW. They make drawer systems, and Commonwealth does like upfitting and outfitting for overlanding. They're both based out of Kentucky. And then Rob from Revere Overland was also one of the sort of co-founders, I guess, or at least involved in the promotion of the event. So it was really cool to see those guys again. I've seen them at different events. I've seen them at Moore a few times. I've hung out with Rob a few times. So it was great to see them, great to catch up with them, and I was really happy and proud for them that this event went well. So just to kind of give you a Cliff Notes version right up front, it was great. They did a really good job. I was super impressed with the way that they put on this event. So let's start by talking about the venue, right? So it was in Stanton, Kentucky. So it's right in the Red River Gorge area. It's just a mile or two down the road from Callie's Campground, which is kind of a place that you're familiar with probably if you've been to the Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway or the Red River Gorge area. Great campground, amazing food, nice bathrooms. Like, it's just a nice place. This was at one of their other properties, again, a little bit further down the road. One of the things is Callie's does not rent out their campgrounds. You can't just rent it out because they have normal people that come in, but they also own this spot down the road, and they were able to rent that out to these guys. And it was beautiful. It was really neat. It was right along this river or creek. So we were right by some water. There was some tree cover and stuff, but then it was open out in front of it. So you could bring in anything from like a trailer or an earth roamer to, a regular old truck with a ground tent. They allowed fires and things, so you were able to have campfires. They had to be up off the ground in like a fire pit, or they had provided fire pits at the campsites too, and those were okay as well. But it was just a great venue. It was really super beautiful, really nice. One sort of downside, which they couldn't control and it wasn't their fault, was that it is kind of right by sort of like a 2-lane country highway, and there was like a concrete plant up the street a little bit, so there were like dump trucks going by, at least early on. We got there early. I was there Thursday, the day before the event started, and then Friday, Saturday was the event, and then Sunday was kind of cleanup and leaving. But so aside from the dump trucks kind of flying by, which again, they can't control, and it wasn't anything that they had to do with, it was a great venue, and it was a ton of fun. As far as vendors and stuff go, again, for a first time event, right, that's always kind of the concern, is like, it's a crapshoot, right? Like, you're hoping that these guys were able to convince enough vendors to sort of come and make it a worthwhile event. But I'm happy to report that they did a fantastic job. There was like Ironman 4x4 was there, Mission Overland was there. There were a bunch of different trailers to look at. There were some smaller vendors that were doing like some crazy food. There was a guy there that was selling basically like freeze-dried peanut butter and jelly or freeze-dried candy. And at first I was a little hesitant, but I tried it and it was actually really, really good. It was a fascinating sort of thing to have there, but it was really, really tasty and really good. Devos Lights was there with Semper Gumby from YouTube, who I've seen around and didn't get a chance to talk to him, but he was there kind of representing Devos Lights. There were probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 vendors, I would say. But again, just tons of awesome sponsors, and all the vendors also like basically donated a gift to auction off, to raffle off at the end of the event. And I'll get to that here in a second when we kind of get closer to talking about how it ended up. But that was kind of neat too. So there was a bunch of really cool stuff. Like there were a couple of Devos Light Rangers that were auctioned off. I donated like one of those, all-in-one to kick-ass shower things. There was just a bunch of like custom fab stuff, some like gift certificates for different places like a Commonwealth 4x4, that kind of thing. So tons of really cool stuff that they gave away. Becker Supply was there. They were actually right next to me, which is a ton of fun. So they have amazing, I'll put a link in the description down below, but they have some amazing quality like shirts and stuff. But they actually designed the shirts for the event, which was super cool. And they have just a ton of really cool sort of outdoorsy camping, overlanding type stuff. So that was cool to be right next to them. They brought their 2 little adorable daughters who are literally the cutest kids that I think I've ever seen. Sorry to my own kids, but these little girls are just the cutest. So that was fun to see them kind of ride around on their bikes and stuff and just waving at people. So that was pretty cool. The neat thing too was that the vendors were able to just camp in their booth areas. So again, it was neat because you got to interact with people, you got to kind of hang out with people, you got to kind of mix in and out with other different groups, and that was a ton of fun as well. And then the camping was sort of past us. So basically when you pull in through registration, right ahead of you is the sort of vendor area, and there's just a big long row of vendors, which makes it really easy to see them too, because it's not like some of those bigger expos where, you know, you got rows and rows and rows and it's really hard to find people. It was like basically a big straight line of vendors. So you could literally start at one end and just go all the way down. And I think made it a pretty good experience for, you know, folks there to attend the show and just kind of see what people had to offer. And then as far as camping goes, again, you go past the vendor area and you keep going down this sort of gravel road, and then it gets you into the camping. And the camping actually kind of winds around. It follows that river or that creek, and you can camp again right up against the trees and stuff there. So while it's a kind of an open field style campground, the fact that you could be right next to the trees, everybody kind of just levitated to that, right? They all just were attracted to the trees and kind of camped back among the trees or back right next to the trees in that field. So but there was a ton of space. If I had to guess how many people were there, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because I'm just kind of guessing, but I felt like it was like 100, 150, somewhere in that ballpark. Like it was actually a pretty good little turnout. And the neat thing too is like the majority of people stayed the whole time. They came Friday night, camped Friday nights, hung out all day Saturday. So I got to talk to a bunch of super awesome people, a bunch of Nissan people. I was actually very pleasantly surprised. There were like 7 or 8 Xteras, I think, maybe a couple of the newer body style Frontiers. So I was able to talk to a bunch of those people. I went and checked out some of their setups, the way that they've got their rigs decked out, and it was a lot of fun. So it was great to see some Nissan representation there, because as far as the vendors go, I'm pretty sure I was the only Nissan truck in the whole lineup. So that was kind of fun to have the truck, you know, displayed out there in front. And as far as what I was vending, it was my stickers and patches, which in the description down below is a link to those if you want to check them out. But it was pretty fun. People really seemed to like them. They had a good time. Met a bunch of really great people. But so kind of as a vendor, right, my experience is a little different because I'm kind of stuck, quote unquote, there. From 9 to 5, the vendor booths are open. Although again, I had a couple buddies with me, Dave and Brady, my kind of camping buddies came with me. And luckily, and thanks to them, big shout out to them, as people came up and like sort of my Nissan people came up and they're like, show me this, show me that. I want to see this on your truck. And I had to get up and sort of walk people around the truck or go see their vehicles and that sort of thing, which was a lot of fun. They kind of took over the booth and just made sure that there was someone there if somebody wanted to buy a sticker or patch. So again, shout out to them for that. But so my experience was that, right? Like I was kind of in the vendor row. I did bring the e-bike with me, which was a lot of fun. So since my truck was all deployed and we were using the awning basically to sort of keep the sun off us at the vendor table that I had set up, I was able to hop on the e-bike and then ride down and sort of say hi to people, check out, you know, rigs again in the camping area and stuff like that. And so that actually worked out to be a pretty good setup. Like having the bike and the truck was a ton of fun. For a June event, it was actually not nearly as bad as it could have been. So it was about 70s, maybe low 80s most days. So it was beautiful weather. Did not rain at all. So the weather was great. But that second night went to bed a little bit early. And they also had then Saturday night, kind of the final night, they had like a big campfire, like a big bonfire, and everybody kind of came and gathered around. There was an ice cream truck there, which was pretty neat. So that was cool. If you wanted ice cream, there was an ice cream truck that rolled up into the campgrounds and sold some ice cream to people. But then they had this big bonfire. They did the raffle. They gave away a bunch of prizes. They kind of thanked all the vendors, which was a lot of fun to be recognized. Like that was kind of neat. Not that I needed to be, but it was neat of them to do that, and I appreciate it. And then, before the bonfire, though, I almost forgot, and I've got some video here that I'll throw up, but they did some really cool classes. Throughout the weekend, they had some really cool classes. Again, because I'm a vendor, I was in my vendor booth most of the time, but they told us all shut down early on Saturday. We're going to be doing a rolled vehicle recovery. And so in the sort of the middle of this big field where the camping was, they had an actual literal truck that they rolled over onto its side. And then they had the Morrison off-road 4x4 guys that are, you know, certified recovery experts kind of do a rollover on this truck. And they actually, you know, again, took this truck, rolled it over. They had like a belay with a ground anchor to try and slow the descent of the vehicle. Now, it is kind of funny, and you'll see it here on the video. It did pull out the ground anchor when the truck actually flipped over, which is one of those things, right? Like, you do your best, you set everything up, but you don't always know that things are going to go right. And that's why you always have to be very careful. That was one of the good things that they talked about a lot in that class, was like, you know, everybody wants to go running in. If someone flips over their vehicle, everybody wants to go running right into there, but you don't know that it's safe. So you need to be checking to make sure the vehicle's stable where it is. You kind of need to put hands on it, you know, check it, just make sure it's not going to roll over again on you, right? To make sure that you're safe. You can verbally talk to the people, but don't go right in. So there was a lot of really good tips and stuff that I've never thought about. Like, luckily, I've never been in a recovery for a rolled over vehicle. But, you know, it's actually kind of crazy, because the day before they did this demonstration, there was someone on the Dana Boone Backcountry Byway on Spas Creek Trail Road that actually rolled over a big full-size Dodge Ram. The airbags deployed and everything. It was pretty bad, but luckily they were okay. They were a little shaken up, but nobody was hurt. But they did roll over a truck, so that actually happened. And then because these guys were there, they actually went out and assisted with the recovery. So it's kind of nice, right? If you're in these sort of locations, these venues for these things, like something like this, and something does go wrong, or there is a recovery situation, you've got literal experts, pros, that were able to go out and assist with that. So that was pretty cool to see everybody, you know, everybody got in their vehicles and went out to assist with that. But so anyways, having the experts there and sort of on site is really handy if something like that happens. And again, luckily everyone was okay from that. Aside from the damage to the truck, everybody walked away from it. So that was good. But again, that truck rollover thing was really cool from a demonstration standpoint. I've actually never seen that before. Now that I think about it, I've never seen someone actually intentionally roll over a vehicle and then recover it. So that was pretty cool. But so again, lots of really cool classes. I heard from other folks that were able to attend the other classes during the day that they were really good. I mean, there was everything. There was all kinds of different classes, from cooking to recovery to, you know, just about anything you could think of. So again, lots of learning opportunities, lots of things to kind of keep you busy during the day, tons of vendors to go and chat with and talk to, tons of cool stuff to buy and check out. So it was really a really well-run event. One thing that's kind of weird that I'm going to talk about is the toilets, the porta potty situations. So because the campgrounds were kind of like remote and in a field, they did not have like built-in bathrooms. But again, the guys did a really good job of sort of bringing in porta potties. And those porta potties in those situations, if you've ever been at like a camping event where you're there for 2 or 3 days, can get pretty nasty pretty quick, and oftentimes very quickly run out of toilet paper and stuff. But the neat thing that they did, and I really like this, and I'm sure that they incentivized their kids to some degree, was, you know, the kids of the guys that put it on were kind of tasked with keeping the toilets clean and keeping toilet paper in the porta potties, and, you know, going around and collecting the raffle prizes from the vendors. And at one point the kids got really creative, and they borrowed a fridge from Justin at Mission Overland Trailers, and they put it in the back of a wagon being pulled by a lawnmower, and they put ice cream in it. So they went to the store, they bought a bunch of ice cream, and then they went around and they were selling ice cream to everyone for a few bucks, which was cute and hilarious and a lot of fun, but also very entrepreneurial. So I was very impressed with that. I appreciated these kids' hustle. So the kids did a great job. The toilets were, you know, as well kept as you could expect for porta potties, and it was great. It was perfectly fine. Better than having to deal with your own toilet stuff, right? So again, like, and I told this to Wes and Clay when I talked to them, like, they did a really good job. They hustled. They did a great job with the event. For a first-year event, I definitely could see this, you know, continuing to go year after year. And based on the first year, if it gets bigger, I mean, that's even better. But it far exceeded my expectations. So again, it was a really great event. If you were thinking about it, from everything that I've heard, there will be another one next year, probably around the same time, probably in the same area. So be looking for that. You know, one thing that they did mention was that they were kind of wishy-washy on whether they were going to have it, because there were some medical issues with someone that was sort of helping out with the thing. So that's why there wasn't a lot of promotion. I had a lot of people comment on my stuff and say like, oh, I wish I would have known about this sooner, but it's 2 weeks before the event or 1 week before the event, and you're just now talking about it. So next year, from talking to them, it sounds like they're going to have it announced and on the schedule like early in the year. So I'm sure that whenever they start talking about it, I'll start talking about it too, and I'll let you guys know. But hopefully we can give you like 3 to 5 months advance notice so that you know. But I would imagine it'd be around summer again, around the June timeline that it was this year. So just kind of keep your eyes open for more stuff on that if you want to attend next year. But I would definitely recommend it. It was a ton of fun. So again, thanks to Wes and Clay for having me. Thanks for Rob, you know, for all the kindness and giving me a shout out for, you know, for no reason. I'm not even actually a vendor. But thank you for the shout out in the bonfire. That felt really good. And it was a great time. I think my buddies had a good time. I think everybody that I saw had a great time. Great to see some Nissan folks down there. So again, thanks for coming and talking to me, all of you Nissan folks. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, definitely consider checking it out next year. So that'll do it for this episode of the podcast. Hope that was enjoyable for you and you kind of got a taste of it. You got to see some of the stuff again if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, hop over to YouTube and watch it over there, because I am putting a bunch of B-roll and a bunch of video of kind of the vendor row, so you can get a really good visual of what it looked like. So definitely, if you're not subscribed on the YouTube channel, hop over there and consider clicking that subscribe button so you can check out all those videos and all the video versions of these podcasts. In the description below, like I said, will be links to basically everything that I talked about in this video, all my social channels, my website where I've got stickers and patches if you're interested in that. There's also a join button down below this video. If you click on that, it's just a passive way to support the channel. It's about $7 a month, but you get early access to the videos. So all the videos I drop live, you get them actually when I upload them. So you actually get to check them out before everybody else. Same with podcast episodes that go to YouTube. So that's pretty cool. Then there is a link to my Patreon group where we've got a 24/7 Discord. We chat all the time. It's tons of fun. We do a once a month Zoom call, and we're doing a couple trips every year. So again, the Patreon is a ton of fun. So check that out. And then last but not least, the Newbie Overlanders Facebook page. This thing is growing like wildfire. We're over 16,000 members now, but it's different from the big groups. It's not super pushy, crazy, fighting all the time. It's everybody wants to help each other. There are a mix of new folks, a lot of new folks, and then a lot of more experienced folks that can answer questions and kind of give you feedback. Lots of folks from all over the US. So if you're looking for people to kind of run with, there's a ton of options there, and then a ton of different vehicles. So if you have a specific vehicle and you have questions about how to outfit it and how to build it, there's probably someone in the group that has a similar vehicle to you. So definitely check that out. But again, that'll do it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.